Redditors who have nearly been murdered, but talked your way out of it. What did you say to your would-be killer that saved your life? I almost got knifed in the Dominican Republic by these two kids in this tiny town, Bayahibe. They saw me walking around at night and came to my hotel with knives. I was out on the balcony in front of my room and they come up to me not saying a word, but brandishing large enough knives. So I put my hands up and real cool like reached in my pocket and handed them like $200 local currency and they ran off. The kicker is, my wife was in an unlocked room right there with like maybe $2,500 and all of our shit. And I made enough noise about it talking calmly, but loudly enough, that I heard the door lock. Thank God. My first thought was, okay they want money. My second was, what if they get in that room with my wife? That second question still f***s with me. Anyways, so this town is small, and I walked over to the police station and explained what happened, and the cops are like, oh yeah we probably know who it is. Come back tomorrow morning at 9 and we'll have you identify them. Came back at 9 and they had both of them in custody. Never did get my money back, but whatever. Police in on it. Tourist scam. Cousin with mental health issues threw a table at me but missed. He grabbed the leg and put me to the ground and shouted I'm gonna fucking kill you. Smash your skull. I responded with, if you're going to do that, let's not do it in front of our family. Slightly different based on his medical mental condition, but for some reason, that brought him back. Had you provoked him, or was this purely a psychotic break? What are you gonna do? Throw a table at me? I'm not entirely sure how close I was to being murdered. This took place back when I worked the register at McDonald's. It was around 10. We weren't 24-hour and would be closing up soon, and in walks a guy that's drunk off his butt. He comes up to the counter and starts chatting with me about nothing in particular, mostly nonsense I can't remember, but I started to get the impression he wasn't just drunk. I'm doing my best to just humor him, waiting for him to leave when out of nowhere he says, if I was gonna kill everyone in here, I'd kill you first, because you look like you'd know what to do. A bit of a morbid joke I thought and said thanks. At this point he pulled out a gun from his waistband and pointed it at me. It wasn't like a full-on point, more like he was limply holding the gun in my general direction. I didn't know what to do and only hoped to God he was still joking. He then said bang and tucked the gun back into his waistband. I think that he just wanted to let me know that he could kill me if he wanted to. He left shortly after that. I informed my manager and was later told that man was both a regular and longtime friend of my manager who tried to downplay what had happened. I left that job shortly after for school. What the actual frick? I don't know if he wanted to murder us, but was definitely up to no good. My mom and I were just walking somewhere. I don't remember to where. I was much younger, but it was in the south of France somewhere. There was a guy who came around the corner and got in our way telling us he has a gun in his pocket, probably BS, and that we needed to give him everything to pass. My mom grew up in Paris and walked through shady parts when she was younger and knows how to react, so she just straight up told him no thanks, slapped his shoulder a little to push him out of the way, and we went by him. Give me everything you got, I have a gun. No, thanks. Not me but my dad. He was about 25 at the time, probably 35 years ago now. He lived in a bad neighborhood, and after getting a pack of 6 from a 7-Eleven, he was sitting in his car for a second and a young guy came up to his window with a gun. My dad said give me all your money or I'll kill you right here, right now. He said look, I have $30. And frankly, that freaking money is mine. You're going to have to kill me for it. Is it worth the blood of a human and most likely life in prison for $30 freaking dollars? He said the guy had this type of well whatever attitude about it. Gave him a goodbye tap on his car like he just came up to say hello and walked away. He said the guy was really casual about it. Oddly so. He didn't sleep well for a few months after that experience. You know you aren't suited for a criminal life when you give the person you decided not to murder a goodbye tap on the window. One time, my mother was driving down to Tanzania with my uncle while she was pregnant with me. It was early in the afternoon, so she was extremely shocked to find a bunch of armed robbers waiting on the side of the road, like a bunch of hyenas waiting for their prey to come to them. They started waving their guns around telling my uncle and mother to come out of the car. I believe that they had the intention to kill. However, this is where it gets interesting. The leader of that gang took one look at my mother's belly, saw that it had a bump, and simply let them go away. My mother tells me that when the leader saw that she was pregnant, his eyes filled with remorse. Maybe he had been a former father as well. Anyway, they took my uncle's wallet and bade us goodbye. To this day, I keep on telling my uncle that I saved his life. Former father is a very sad phrase. I was babysitting for my cousins, aged 5 and 3. I was 14 at the time, and the 5-year-old found his dad's handgun and was waving it around like a toy. He was pointing it at things and pretending to shoot them, not putting his finger on the trigger thankfully, and at one point he pointed it at me and pretended to be a bank robber. I told him if he handed me the gun he could go get the package of Oreos on the counter and we could have some. It actually worked, and I stuck the gun on a high shelf until my aunt and uncle came home. As it turned out, the gun was loaded. My aunt made my uncle buy a gun safe and put all the guns in the garage after that. TL. Doctor, for the love of God, don't leave your firearms where your young children can find them. No matter how much you tell them it's not a toy, they will still treat it like a toy. I think you technically got robbed at gunpoint for Oreos by a 5-year-old. My friend's mother was bringing in the groceries. As she was walking the bags up the stairs, she turned to find a man who had snuck into the garage after her car, pointing a rifle at her. "SHHH," she said, with a finger to her lips. "You have to get out of here. You're going to be in big trouble." He looked around, panicked, and ran. This is so bad, eh? When I was 22 I had a gun put in my face because I was drunk and probably hit on his GF. I apologized and told him he's a lucky guy. IDK how that worked. People are so unpredictable, it's scary. You hit on his GF and he pulls out a freaking gun. I once tapped a girl on the shoulder so I could move through a crowd and her drunk BF swung at me. I was luckily sober and able to handle myself without really furthering that fight much on either of our parts. But yeah, people are freaking crazy. Was walking home from work at a pizza place. 2 guys approach me wielding knives. I'm wearing headphones so can't hear what they said, but I assume it had to do with them taking my crap. I throw my pizza box at the first guy, frisbee style, throw my drink at the second guy, normal style, and take off running. Didn't talk my way out except for the "oh frick" when I realized what was happening, but still crazy. What if they were walking past you and you just randomly launched a pizza at them? They were holding knives, obviously to cut the pizza. I talked my way out of getting stabbed when I was being robbed. I don't know if he would have murdered me, but definitely would have fricked me up. I just told him to chill and put the knife away, and he could have whatever the frick he wanted. So he put his knife away and went through my stuff while I stood there annoyed. I went for breakfast with a girl right after and carried on with my day. Did you use those exact expressions? Chill and take whatever the frick you want? If so, you are cool as a cucumber. Glad you got out of that situation unscathed. You really kept your head. In my mind I was cool as a cucumber, but on the outside I probably stuttered and shook like a leaf. I bet you were scared as a squash. Whoa. Just wait a minute. That's what I said to the guy who just slammed me face first into an ATM and drew a knife on me as I staggered to my feet. I kicked him and ran out of the bank's vestibule. By the way, he went to prison. Thanks Ada Heinrich. I'm sorry that this happened to you, but I love this story in the coda. I'm 19. First time in Europe. Started in Italy visiting relatives, and first night I went out for a walk. Group of guys looking like trouble pushed me around and then showed me their knives demanding money, which I seemed to obviously have since I stood out as a foreigner by my clothes. Except all I had on me was $20 and a condom, because I was so naive from hearing how easy it was to get laid. I was expecting local girls to just see me and approach me to have sex. So I explained this to these guys in broken 1960s-Italia and gleamed from my parents. They laughed their butt off and wished me luck. Everyone knows it's bad karma to kill a virgin without preparing the ritual first. I was once in the drive-thru of a Las Vegas Jack in the Box that was being robbed. I pulled up to the window and this guy inside the window points a .45 at my face and says, "You better get the fuck out of here, homie." I was so shocked that the only thing I thought was, "What about my tacos? Did you say that aloud? Because that would be priceless XD." I almost did actually. I started to speak and then realized the gravity of the situation.